You have to really want to go to Russia. The briefest of visits involves a lot of paperwork, and if you want to hang around for any length of time, they make you take a leprosy test. Russians pride themselves on their legendary hospitality, but whenever I stagger off the 10-hour flight from New York, I never seem to see the smiling, flaxen-haired Slavic beauty in national dress offering me the traditional symbol of welcome, a round loaf of bread topped with a small container of salt. Instead, a 13-year-old passport control guy with pitted acne and a dull green uniform scrutinizes me unsmilingly from behind a smeared, bulletproof window just long enough to make me feel like I actually might have leprosy. I pilot my rickety cart, stacked high with luggage, through a phalanx of the world's most aggressively unpleasant taxi drivers. Once outside the terminal, there are the titanic statues of Russian military types who, with conquering limbs astride, guard the gateway to every major Russian city. Some are dressed as medieval warriors, others in the high helmets of 19th century hussars, but most, like the ones who guard the road to downtown Moscow, are clearly those who defended Russia from the Nazis. Huge and menacing, they loom up, their arms firmly extended, palms held out in warning. You do not need to speak a word of Russian to interpret their message. Halt and go no further, they say. And I never feel that this is madly welcoming. If you ask me, and no one ever does, the Russians should rethink the statuary. When you are all about turning Moscow into a global financial hub, or transforming Sochi, a sleepy subtropical backwater, into the venue of the 2014 Winter Olympics, the menacing Red Army dudes on steroids just send the wrong message. None of this mattered to me in the beginning because I really wanted to go to Russia. I had wanted to go since I was 13 and stood on tiptoes to slide Nicholas and Alexandra by Robert Massey down off the school library shelves. That thick black tome became, as the best books do, a portal to another world. I didn't read Nicholas and Alexandra. I inhaled it. I devoured it. In fact, I think I eventually stole it from the library. I couldn't help myself. I spent hours poring over the sepia photos of the last Tsar and his attractive, tragically doomed family, and I became determined to go to Russia. Who wouldn't want to go to that vast, distant, secret, snowbound country of firebirds and onion domes, where beautiful, sepia-skinned grand duchesses had names like Tatiana and Anastasia? At this point in stories like this, there's always a kindly librarian to point the way, so I'll include one here. She pointed me further down the rabbit hole, and I discovered lusty Catherine the Great and lunatic Peter the Great. I met Prince Andrei Bolkonsky, Anna Karenina and Vronsky, and Yuri Zhivago and his muse Lara. And of course I wanted to go to Russia even more. I wanted to drink tea out of a glass from a hissing samovar. I wanted to stay up all night for the Easter Vigil. I wanted to ride in a troika and take a brocade-upholstered train through a blizzard, the obligatory handsome army officer at my side. I wrapped my head in woolen scarves like Julie Christie and Diane Keaton, and I imagined myself triumphing over adversity in the midst of war and revolution, though, to be honest, my interest in Russian history ran out of gas at the logical stopping point of 1917. Though later the gritter, grimmier, gray Soviet stuff came to interest me in an academic way, it never drew me in on a visceral level the way Imperial Russia did. Nicholas and Alexandra left me with the unshakable conviction that Lenin and his cronies were the villains of the piece, and long after I was old enough to know better, I nurtured a naive but heartfelt vision that one day the sepia-colored Russian people would rise up, throw off the Soviet yoke, outlaw Marxism-Leninism, and bring back the sepia-colored Tsar. Russia would live happily ever after. By happy coincidence, in the autumn of 1985, when I walked into my freshman year Russian language class, the Russians seemed to be on the verge of doing just that.